Today, Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna were awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. This is a great success for the field of genetics, but also a validation of our thesis that the CRISPR field is disruptive and has a lot of promise. This is a Not Even Wrong podcast. It's October 7th, 2020. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 10.8%. The market's up 1.7%. For the year, we are up 209%, and the market is up 6%. We're outperforming by 203%. For a change today, we want to focus on CRISPR and not Tesla, our second largest position. Our CRISPR index is about 30% of the fund. And today, the two pioneers of CRISPR, Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier, both women, independently discovered this technology. They were awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. And I think I am personally not a big fan of Nobel Prizes. I think I've tweeted several times in advance of the Nobel Prize winning week, which is this week, that I feel like this is just a modern way of the clergy tapping on each other's shoulders and kind of pretending to do something significant when in fact most of the things that Nobel Prize winners do is pretty insignificant. However, sometimes, in rare cases, Nobel Prize winners actually are really significant contributors, not just to science, but to the rest of the world. I want to say three Nobel Prizes that I believe are absolutely crucial and have changed the world. One is the invention of the transistor, Bill Shockley, in the 1940s. Then we have Black-Scholes and Merton with the Black-Scholes options pricing formula, which has transformed Wall Street. And now Charpentier and Doudna with CRISPR. I think very similar to those two inventions. It is not just an intellectual feast, but also a level playing field, a democratization of a whole field by building engineering type processes into a very complex field by allowing those engineering type processes to take hold and therefore enabling massive rapid iteration and a massive and rapid improvement of a field. This is what the transistor has done to compute. This is what Black-Scholes has done to finance. And this is what CRISPR is in the process of doing. And this is the main thesis also why we are invested in the CRISPR field. We have chosen to invest through a basket of stocks. Our stocks are certainly not maybe at the point where we would like them to be in terms of the ability to iterate and improve through engineering. They are still more of a old-fashioned type therapeutic situation where, let's say, CRISPR Therapeutics is attacking certain cancers and certain blood diseases and liver diseases. Same with Editas and Intellia. But they're using CRISPR. So they're kind of trying to do something old with the new technology. I think the real breakthrough, the real great advances will be made when companies like Syntego or Script, which are two companies that are still in private hands, not public, but what they're trying to do is trying to industrialize the CRISPR technology to the point where it can be used in an engineering type, iterative, fast, innovative way. So when that happens, we believe we can have more faster breakthroughs a la Intel, when Intel broke through in the processing technology and made what Bill Shockley evolved in the 40s with the transistor through Intel in the 70s became the foundation of the computer revolution and then the internet revolution and today's AI revolution. All these things are based on the work that Intel has done and the work to solve a massive transistor problem to create a microprocessor out of transistors. That step that then became Intel and then became this enormous advance through Moore's law. This is exactly what we expect CRISPR to do to biology, medicine, food technology. We expect some sort of Moore's law. I don't know if it's going to be called Charpentier and Doudna's law or some sort of other law. Also, Rodolphe Barangou, one of the protagonists in the CRISPR story that we are close to. We've spoken with him and communicate with him regularly. He is a very active member of the CRISPR community. He's also the editor of the CRISPR Journal, which is an academic journal which follows the CRISPR space more thoroughly. So he and many others have contributed to this field. They also deserve part of the tribute for this Nobel Prize. And my point is, we don't know who is going to come up with the equivalent of Moore's law. It could also be an entrepreneur, somebody who isn't even in the scientific community right now. But the point is, we are still in the early phases of this CRISPR technology. However, it is very, very promising. And here's why. Here's what we at Orange Capital Partners early on discovered. First of all, we looked at the technology. I took a few courses. I spoke with Rodolphe Barangou. I did a one-on-one interview in person. I obviously also did a lot of work like going to virtual conferences and all that stuff. We started working on CRISPR pretty much a year ago. We then invested heavily at the beginning of the year. We built a 30% position. And since then, we've been monitoring the field. We've been adding, when Beam went public, Beam is a company which is using base editing, the next sort of iteration of CRISPR, if you will, CRISPR 2.0, which has certain advantages and certain difficulties, but we believe it's also an interesting company. And we think Intellia is a very interesting company. We also have Twist Therapeutics, which is or Twist Bioscience, I'm sorry, which is not specifically in the CRISPR space. They are in the synthetic DNA space, but these fields are very, very complementary. The same with Illumina, a company that is in the next generation sequencing space, and you obviously have to be able to read the genome in order to start manipulating it. So these things are all complementary, and we are very, very excited about this field. We believe that this is definitely a potential big wealth generator, and therefore fits also to our purpose, which is to generate wealth by investing in disruptive technologies with large impact. We also believe this is very classic Clayton Christensen style disruption, where you start with a new technology, you start very low end, so you do things that might look maybe very kind of mundane, not very interesting, but then slowly but surely work yourself up, and you know, lo and behold, you might be able to help people with sickle cell disease or even cancer in very novel ways and create enormous amounts of value. On the one side, I believe it's not very Clayton Christensen-like, and that is the side that I don't think that the incumbents are necessarily ignoring it. I think the incumbents are trying to piggyback on this. They are not ignoring it in a sense like Daimler is ignoring Tesla, or like Nokia was ignoring Apple, or BlackBerry was ignoring Apple. I don't think it's that case and therefore it is not a classic disruption, but it's also not like Peter Thiel style negative type disruption where the incumbents are fighting tooth and nail against you, or like I would say Uber is the case, where they're not disruptive in a sense that the incumbents, not just that they are not ignoring you, they're actually fighting you, and that is not disruption. So in this case, we're kind of in a sort of in a la-la land of new technology being evolving rapidly across the world in labs everywhere, and the incumbents not necessarily fighting it, trying to piggyback on it. We will see where the rubber hits the road is when we talk about who pays for what. And when therapeutic solutions become 10 times cheaper and 10 times better, that's when the rubber hits the road. That's when we're going to see what the incumbents will do. Right now, I think we still hope, this is unfortunately only a hope that we can have, is that the technology will creep into the medical and pharmaceutical space in a way that the incumbents cannot stop it. But because medicine and pharmaceuticals are, I'm sorry for the blunt word, they're just very corrupt in a sense that they are regulated, and you can just make laws. You can, for example, say that this drug can be used and that drug cannot be used, and things like that. So therefore, the incumbents have a tool to stop something that doesn't really fit their bill. And we haven't yet seen that type of behavior. Therefore, we don't want to jump the gun and say this is going to happen, but we just, I wonder what happens if we have somebody like Intellia or Editas or Beam coming up with much, much more powerful therapeutic solutions, and how the incumbents will react when their million, billion-dollar drug, blockbuster drugs all of a sudden become obsolete. I don't know. We will see. This is a risk. We have to monitor that very closely. We believe that in the end, the good will win because the adoption of CRISPR is so vast, because it is lowering the cost and increasing adoption and democratization across the labs. So it's not just that it is something that a few scientists, George Church and his friends can do. Everybody in the world with a bit of, obviously some education and also a bit of money and a bit of lab equipment can start manipulating genes. This was not possible before in the older versions of zinc finger and I forgot there was another one where we were able to manipulate genes or gene therapy type solutions where we kind of carpet bomb the genome and hope that something will happen, some sort of mutation will come out of it which can cure a disease. This is very targeted, Raytheon style missile, precise, taking out something, replacing it with something else, and therefore attacking diseases in a much more fundamental way. So to summarize, we are very happy and congratulate Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna for their Nobel Prize. We believe it's one of the 3 Nobel Prizes that count. Number 1 was Bill Shockley with transistor. Number 2 was Merton with the Black-Scholes model. And number 3 is this one. And this one will have massive, massive implications, the same way like the transistor was basically paving the way for the economy of the second half of the 20th century. This will, in our view, pave the way for the economy in the first half of the 21st century, which is going to be an engineering, digitized type of biology, medicine, food science, pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.